Lulu Hawton!
Hi, I'm Susie from Women's Fight News, and today I'm joined by Australian pro boxer Louisa "Bang Bang Lulu" Hawton. So thank you very much for joining me today, Louisa. And how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm doing really awesome. Yeah, just kicking back down here in Aussie land.
And we just had a little conversation before the start of the interview, because we're saying about how luckily you're not in lockdown where you are, because there's parts of Australia in lockdown.
Yeah. Thankfully, no, I'm in Brisbane at the moment. I'm here for training. Thankfully, we're not in lockdown. We were in lockdown a couple of weeks ago, just for a week. But yeah, it's passed, so I'm grateful for that. I can be back, in training and doing what I'm here to do. So that's good. And Perth, where I'm from, is not in lockdown. So, it's been a pretty comfortable life over there, that we haven't really had to go into these really crazy long lockdowns or anything like that. We have had little moments, but they're pretty quick and just like a snap lockdown. So it's okay.
Brilliant. And you're 2 times world champion.
Yep.
But you started off as a pro skateboarder, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah.
So you did that, and then you went into boxing. So what made you change to boxing?
Yeah, I was skateboarding when I was young. So I started skateboarding. I skateboarded my first World Cup when I was 16. And then I traveled to the States and competed over there. And, it was a big part of my life. And then when I came back to Australia, then I kind of like my life moved in a little bit of a different direction. And, I had children and that kind of stuff. So then I did that I do that every day, but, I focused on that. Obviously, the kids were babies and young, so I was living that kind of life. And then I started boxing actually when I went through a bit of some challenging times in life and found myself in the gym. My friend asked me if I wanted to go to a fitness class with some of the other mums from school, and I was like, she was like, oh, will you come with me? And I'm like, yeah, cool, all right, no worries. So I went to that, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, okay. I kind of missed like competing in sports and missed being an athlete. I really got to see a lot of and experienced a lot at a young age of traveling the world and being on those little tours and things like that. So it kind of instantly, gave me the fire to want to compete. And when I was young, I also wanted to become, the best skateboarder in the world. And I felt like I fell short with that. So I just saw, boxing lit me up in the same way, and it gave me a second opportunity to fulfill my dreams of becoming, a world champion. So that's how I got into it.
Were you 30 when you started boxing?
Yeah, I was 30.
30.
Yep.
And then I've read somewhere that you only needed 2 amateur fights before you've obviously taken the pro world by storm.
Yeah, I actually had 2 amateur fights. I 2 amateur boxing fights. Like I would have jumped straight in and just gone for it, you know what I mean, and gone to the pros because I was a bit older. But it turned out that I was matched up for a pro fight straight away, but that fell through, and I was like, well, I want to fight. So we ended up going to the amateurs, and then it was always in my mind to be professional. I wanted to become world champion. So and then I went professional in 2014, and yeah, pretty much did as much as I could, trained as hard as I could, because in my mind I was like, well, I love what I do, but I feel like I've got to work harder to catch up and get to where I need to get to. So just push me pretty hard.
And it's quite impressive because in 2016 you actually went all the way across to Japan to face a Japanese fighter in their home country, who was 11-0 to win the vacant WBO World Light Fly title.
Yeah.
So how was that experience?
Oh, it was awesome. I went up 2 weights because I was fighting at atomweight, and I went up 2 weights. I got the opportunity. I had won the WBO Asian Pacific title, and then that had opened up different opportunities, and they asked me, I got asked, offered the fight to fight for the WBO light flyweight. And I thought, yeah, okay, let's do it. And it ended up being in Japan, and I fought Ki Takanaka, and 11-0. I was going in on my sixth pro fight after my 6th pro fight. So I knew that I was going there to win because I was really driven to become a world champion, and everybody in Japan treated me, and my team like they're beautiful people in Japan, like really, really are. We had such a great experience. We had so much fun, and yeah, like it was great to go there and win the world title in their backyard. I know that probably on paper I wasn't supposed to win from their eyes, obviously, because they want their champion to win, but I just don't think that they knew what I was about or who I was, or do you know what I mean? So I had my own strengths and my own desires that at the end of the day, that's why you're in the ring, to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. It's not about anything else. So it was a really good experience. It actually was 5 years ago, I think yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because her coach had just written me on Facebook, 5 years ago today, which was yesterday, you had a great fight in Japan, and that was Keith's coach. So yeah, really good people.
Oh, that's nice. And then obviously you've now gone on to win the WBC interim world atomweight title.
Yeah, yep.
What can you tell me about the fight that you won that in?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that fight came, and I actually originally fought for it, and it didn't go my way, and I had won the fight, and there was a bit of controversy over the decision. Like, I should have walked away as the winner from that fight that I had at the Forum in 2018. So a direct rematch was made for that fight. I mean, that's the only thing they can do. They can't overturn it. They can't do anything like that. So they made the direct rematch, and I was meant to rematch her. So the fight I originally had against Brenda Flores was in September, and then I was meant to rematch her for December. And 10 days before the fight, she had pulled out. So I was still, because of everything that had gone on, I was still able to fight for the title. And yeah, so I won the fight at the StubHub in LA, and it was an amazing feeling because the WBC belt is what I first saw when I first walked into a gym. Like I walked in and I was like, yeah, I love this. I want to become a world champion. And I saw that belt. I was like, that's the one that I want. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't really know much about the sport at all. I just knew that I wanted to achieve something great. So when I finally won that fight, it was it was pretty emotional. It was a really, because of the challenges that I'd overcome to get there, and being away from my children. It was my daughter's birthday that day, and I was away in the States, spending a lot of time over there. And yeah, so it just meant a lot to me personally as well. And then also to my children, it was my daughter's birthday. So as soon as I won the title, I went back and we were on a video call with them, and they were watching the fight. And yeah, it was a really amazing time. So I'm really grateful for my experience that I had in America for a few years.
And I can understand why when you said you went into the gym and you saw the WBC belt, because that is a nice belt.
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful belt, and then, as I got more into it, then I started, obviously, I'm a student of the game, so I would watch videos and learn more about boxing and learn about great fighters. And, that's one of the best, it is the most prestigious title to have and to acquire, you know what I mean? So a lot of people love that and respect the WBC for all the work that they've done with boxing and the great champions that they've had. So,
and what's your toughest fight been in your career?
Toughest? Probably, I would say my last one, just because of just different things that were going on in my life at the time. So my last one, which was in New York, I rematched against Lorraine Villalovas, who had won the title originally off, but then the rematch, like, there was just different things going on around me that kind of made it challenging, because it wasn't necessarily a tough fight, but I probably made it tougher than it needed to be. And I went into the fight with a fractured thumb as well. So, happened in training camp before the fight, a couple of weeks before the fight. So I didn't really have my right hand, and, it was changed as everything. Like, I still fought really well and I still won, do you know what I mean? But that probably was the toughest because I was overcoming a few different adversities and things like that. So yeah, I would say that was probably the toughest.
And you've been, obviously, since 2016, you've not fought in Australia, you've fought in Japan and in America. What's your favourite place to fight?
Fighting in the States is probably the best place to fight because, you know, that's the mecca of boxing and that's where all the action is. And, you know, you really have to grow as a fighter, especially when you come from different country, like when you come from Australia, like we go over there and the levels are different and the competition is different. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of our fighters will go and fall a little bit short. So for me, like I was very proud to do my country proud by being over there. You know, it's hard to go over there just as a male fighter to get the opportunities in the States to be over there fighting on those great stages, you know, and those big platforms. It's challenging just for a guy to be over there to do that and have that way of being. But for a woman, it's even like, you know, it's unheard of. Like it's pretty challenging, like to be over there and doing those things. So for me, I was just very proud to represent my country and to have those opportunities, you know, that Elvis did open up for me to be in the States and to fight on those great platforms and to be surrounded by awesome fighters that are doing great things today. Like it's where you want to be, you know, that's where sport is just a whole nother level. And the UK is taking off as well. It's crazy over there too.
Yeah, just suddenly in the last sort of year or so, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's, you know, like I guess Eddie Hearn's doing an amazing job at promoting fights and, you know, promoting them in a way where a lot of people are starting to get to know the fighters because that's important, you know, for the fans to feel like they're getting to know their fighters. And that's why you grow more fans and more people come to watch boxing.
Because, I mean, you said you went pro in 2014. I mean, how much have you seen it change in those years? Because I bet there's been quite a lot of changes since then.
Yeah, absolutely. For women's boxing in particular, you know, I guess when I started, they didn't even have, I think in Perth, they didn't even have fighting on TV at the time. Do you know what I mean? Like it was around and it was on TV, but at that moment when I came in, it had stopped for a while. Yeah. So there wasn't even fighting on like local shows or anything like that on TV. They weren't televised. But for women's fighting, it's just grown so much, you know. I think that the competition is starting to get better and better. The fighters are starting to get better and better, and the demand or the public, the fans, they enjoy watching women fight. You know, we do have to overcome all the women fighters and this and that. But actually, when you walk away from a good women's fight, you'll hear everybody walk out of the stadium or, you know, that have seen it on TV and go, well, that those girls were fighting. That was the best fight. That was the fight of the night. Do you know what I mean? Like it's starting to really pick up with competition and some really good skill sets out there, I think. And that's growing. That's really growing the female sports and being able to televise women is what's growing it. Because like I say, if the fans can't see you, then they don't know. But if the fans can see you, they can then start to really follow you and enjoy watching women's boxing. It's just like, you know, what the UFC did with Ronda Rousey. It's the same thing. Like you can do that with anything. You just got to give women the airtime and then the fan base will be there.
100%. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, so that's changed a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just like I was saying, you know, the last year's just been crazy how different it's been. You know, it's great. It's nice because you can see the future's bright for the sport.
Yeah, and even that, when you say the future, like there's a whole lot more young girls that are starting to box, you know what I mean? And that they're starting to love the sport for what it is, and they're starting to see girls on TV and women on TV thinking that they can dream now to, oh, one day I want to do that and I want to be there. Because if you see it when you're a young kid and you think that you're interested in it, then you might just dare to dream to be like, well, one day I want to do that. So
So what's been your favourite boxing memory in your career?
Oh, I would say winning my first world title for sure. That's definitely one of my favorite memories. Winning the WBC world title was an absolutely great memory for me. You know what? I really feel like the whole thing is just a journey. Like, you know, there's so many ups and downs that you have on the journey, but it's the whole thing. Like it makes it whole, and it's the hard training and the moments of you're challenged and you're dropping weight and you're tired or whatever. Like I even love all of every little bit of the moments because that's what makes the whole journey. You know what I mean?
So what are your future boxing plans then? Because unfortunately, with everything the world's been with the lockdowns and COVID, it's put a lot of stop to a lot of things, hasn't it? So what's your?
Yeah, it's been really, really challenging. I think I tried to embrace it as much as I can because I know that the whole world is like this, and there are fighters that are getting to go, and then there are a lot that aren't getting to go, and we're having to be patient. And I've certainly have to be patient waiting for things to open up. But I'm working towards getting back in the ring this year. In Australia, our lockdowns are really, really tight with internationals coming into the country and things like that. Even, just Aussies coming home with the quarantines and stuff like that. But, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to bring in someone here for me to be able to fight back here in Australia, which will be just an amazing for me. Like it's been a long time, so I would love to entertain the fans here in Australia with what I've got. But my plans are I would love to become the Unified Atomweight World Champion, and I really believe that I can do that. It's just a matter of getting around these obstacles with the COVID situation for the opportunities to open up. But yeah, that's my goal.
So is there a particular fighter you've got your eye on at the moment, or just all of them?
Yeah, all the ones in atomweight division. Mika from Japan, she's the WBO champion. Fabiana she's the WBC. That I'd love to fight her, and she's in Europe. The WBA champ, the IBF champ is another. WBA is from Mexico, the IBF from Japan. So I would like all of those fights. If I could have them boom, 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 boom like that, then I'd be happier. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that right now that's what I'm looking at, and then eventually I would like to really unify that this division. That's my goal.
And you touched on it earlier, but I understand you're quite an advocate for mental health issues. And you're a public speaker about it. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I guess mental health is so I'm quite passionate about it. Through my time after skateboarding, I fell into quite a really big depression. Which really challenged me, really tough moments for me. And I was actually, I would say depression it's a real sickness, because I couldn't find my way through it until, it took time and obviously came through the other end of that. But I love to speak about my experiences and my journey through that to, let others know that it's okay if you're going through something like that. It's okay to speak to people and get professional help or open up, because you get really scared to open up about how you're feeling. Like you think you're crazy. Do you know what I mean? And there's all these things that go through your head because you're stuck in this negative cycle. And I felt like I was a skateboarder. I was doing really well with skateboarding. I felt like really fearful just to speak up about how I was feeling because I felt weak. But it's not a weakness. It's just something that you're going through that you need to learn to grow through it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I speak about that. Done quite a few public speaking events for corporate companies. And in actual fact, in October, I'm heading to Darwin for Mental Health Week. So they've asked me to come and be the speaker for Mental Health Week and Mental Health. I think that's October, yeah. So I'll be up there doing a nice talk for their gala dinner, and then I'll be heading out to do a few talks while I'm there for different places in Darwin, and then I'll also do perhaps like a little workshop with the youth out there for boxing. So it's going to be, I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing, and I really enjoy doing it just as much as I enjoy boxing, because I know that if can just inspire one person or help one person and make a difference, and it might just sway them from doing things that, you know, they might be thinking about that it's not necessary. So yeah,
Nice, because like you say, you're a role model for it, that you worked through it and
yeah.
and gone on to do the things that you've done.
Yeah, and I think boxing teaches you so much about yourself. You know, it really takes you inner, because there's a lot of times you're by yourself. You know what I mean? You do your work and it's reliant on you. You're, at the end of the day, when you are a champion or you are a boxer, it's up to you. Like, nobody can do your work for you. And no matter how much other people will try and motivate you from the outside, actually it's got to come from you, because nobody can get in there and fight for you. You have to fight for yourself. So it teaches you some really, really good tools and some mental strength, and how to overcome things, or how to think about things in a different way that, you know, you can apply it to anything in life.
And obviously you've been through quite a journey in your life. So what advice would you give your younger self, if you could give it, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, someone asked me this the other day. To embrace everything, you know, and to honor the challenging times as well, because in those times you get something good out of it. Like, it's not bad or good. There's actually both in an experience. There's good and there's bad in everything. There's not just one thing. So we normally just always look for what's good, what's good, what's good, and then all of a sudden we go through something that was challenging or hard, or we didn't know how to deal with it, and we go, oh, that was bad, and then we focus on the bad. But actually there's something good in that, and there's growth in that for yourself, and there's a gift in everything. You know, there's a gift in everything that we go through. And that was one of the biggest pieces of advice my mother gave me when I was younger, going through my depression. I'll never forget it. She goes, just embrace it, you know, just embrace and let it come and let it go. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Do you know what I mean? But I understand what she's talking about now, and with different life experiences. So I definitely would say to embrace everything.
Well, it's been fantastic to speak to you. And I'm really hoping that you get out into the ring this year and we get to see you back in action.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Let me excite you a little bit. No, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure, and it's really nice to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to speak to you. Thank you very much, Louisa.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit like. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content, and why not check out any other videos on the channel. You can follow Women's Fight News on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.